Okay, I think I'm live. I think you can hear me. I've got my mic set up, I've got a camera set up. I think we can close this. If you can't hear me or something, let me know. There will be some pretty loud game noise coming through. So I thought I'd do a live for this and then just post it as a video, because I don't really like editing and storing heaps of large video files on my computer. I just find this a lot easier for me to just live stream it basically and upload it afterwards. Okay, so probably for the sake of dead time, I'll just get on with it. So I'll go in and I'll start doing a lap and we'll start talking a little bit about this hardware, what I'm using, and why I might be thinking of an upgrade, or why I might be apprehensive of an upgrade. Let's see. Where's my oh yes, okay. Alright, maybe we'll go just picking out a car at the moment. You know, I like this. Always like this car. I'll just grab that. Haven't driven it for a while. So, I've got this Simagic Alpha V3 direct drive wheelbase, and I got that. Well, it'll be 2 years in September that I got that, and yeah, it hasn't missed a beat or been, you know, unreliable in any way. It's had a couple of little quirks here and there, sometimes particularly with AC. When I load into a server, the wheel will just go spastic on me until I actually load into the game, like when I'm just sitting in the pit menu. So, you know, the emergency stop button would stop that issue. And I've had an issue where I've just got like no, how do I put it? It's like the wheel wouldn't connect to SimPro, but it would connect to Content Manager. But I've only had that issue after installing VJoy and running Hush, and then for some reason VJoy not disconnecting or disengaging properly when I unenable it, or Hush not unmuting or something, I don't know, but I'll notice the issue when I go from Forza Horizon 6 to something like back to something like AC, and suddenly I've got like no control, and I've got the audio running through the monitor, so it's not going to be very loud anyway. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so I'd find myself having to reset the bass, make sure that it registered that the bass had been turned off, like listening for the Windows disconnect and reconnect sounds, and then turn off SimPro, go into VJoy, enable it again, disable it again, make sure that it makes the disconnect sound, open up Hush, just click unmute just to make sure everything's unmuted again. then turn on the bass and turn on Simpro again, and that would pretty much fix it. And then once you'd done that, you wouldn't have the issue again until you go back and play Forza kind of thing. So, you know, these are issues that I've had, you know, 1 day or 2 days out of 2 years just about. I wouldn't consider it to be, you know, a running theme or a persistent issue or anything like that. Exit here. It's going to play up with. We'll make sure. I just got to make sure that this is all good again. It seems to be. So I said I'd go over my Simhub stuff too, and I might just do that quickly while I'm here. So what I found. Now I've got two BST2 bass shakers on the rear of the rig, and I've got two 25 watt exciters and a 30 watt puck on the front of the rig. Plus I've got Simpson's Van Pro haptics on the brake and the accelerator, which you can kind of use in conjunction with the front haptics if you just want to add a little icing on the cake to effects like wheel slip that you think may transfer through as vibrations into the pedals. So you can, you know, slightly supplement those effects with the VAMs as well. Although the VAM's main job is to do things like rear wheel slip or wheel lock, ABS and TC, maybe a slight bit of gear shift effect through the throttle. I can't exactly remember, but I'll go into them and I'll show you how I've set up the Van Pro. So the Van Pro is all set up through Simpro first at 100%. But once you've set it up, you shouldn't need to turn Simpro back on. It is pretty important though that you get the right firmware. My experience with the Simpson pedals, it's been a little funny because, you know, I'll go into that a bit later, but I've had to do all sorts of things to get them to work flawlessly, and including, you know, running an EMI cable from the throttle to the PC case to ground everything, making sure that it runs in USB 3, adding extra ferrite chokes to cables, adding a aluminium foil shield wrap around the power supply that runs the Van Pros, running a little cable, another little cable from the control box to the rig, and also making sure that you've downloaded a specific like old firmware, or you like manually install this like old firmware. And once you've done all that, it's actually, I make it sound more complicated than it is, but once you've done all that, you'll have these nice stable pedals. And the pedals were always pretty stable. It was actually the Van Pro motors that were constantly kicking in and out, so they'll become more reliable with that with all of these things. And these are the settings that I'm running. So ABS and TC are fully maxed out. Now I've only got the thing at 60%, but you know, you can jack that as you go or jack that down as you go as well. But you can see I've got a few other effects set up as well. Got some wheel slip, some road vibration, a bit of gear shift, and that's about it. That's pretty much all you want for the Van Pros. And then for the bass shakers, we've got, you know, two different outputs because I've got the BS. So the way I did it was I bought like cheap AliExpress amplifiers, 2.1 channel amps, and the front is running a 2.1 setup and the rear is just running on the 2 at the moment, although I did have a homemade bass shaker hooked up to the sub channel, but that's now wired into the audio channel itself, so that whatever comes through the subwoofer in the audio channel also comes into the seat a bit as well. That just adds a little bit of extra engine rumble and things without needing to drown out your actual bass shakers. So that's one little mod that I actually highly suggest. When you're running, if you're running bass shakers, probably the best way to run them is 4 corners, although you'll get 90% of 4 corners just by running front and rear. As long as you've got decent enough bass shakers, you can put one under your pedal plate and one on the rear of your rig or under your seat. Depending on the rig, like how the vibrations transfer through. I use a tubular rig and the vibrations transfer through the rig into you very well. On aluminium profile rigs, it seems like you're better off mounting on the seat unless you've got a slip angle kit, something to take, transfer those vibrations and make sure they're not just going straight into the floor. So yeah, there's a few different ways you can set it up, and the best is probably the most efficient is probably one at the front, one at the rear, and then a third one attached to your seat somewhere. It doesn't need to be as powerful. You can just get it doesn't have to actually be that powerful for this, but that one should be wired into your subwoofer, so that whatever low pass like audio sounds come out of the actual game, they're also going through your seat, and that'll really add a lot more variation in, like, when you jump in a car like a big V8 that's bob 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 bob, like you should feel that, and you will. And then when you jump in a car that's like smooth quiet, you won't feel it as much. It's really good for that. But you're getting all the audio effects, so every bassy noise is coming through, but it's fine. It's just a little supplement, like icing on the cake. But your actual bass shakers, you want to set them up so if you've got them both running off 1 amp, then you'll just have one of these. But if you've got them running off of 2, then you'll have 2, and you want to set it all accordingly. And for me, I found something like this 58 on the front and 100 on the back to be about right, because even though what's on the front's a lot weaker, they're only 25 watt exciters, they're mounted to the pedal plate, and that transfers a lot of vibration through. So that's how I've done it. And then these are the effects that I'm running. Gear shift, ABS, TC. Now, ABS and TC, actually, these used to be hooked up. These aren't even doing anything. Yeah, they're not doing anything to the bass shakers. They used to be hooked up when I had the exciters set up as pedal, but I can actually just get rid of these, honestly. They're just not doing anything. So I've got wheel lock, gear shift, and wheel slip. Wheel lock, set up as corners. And then wheel slip's the same. And then we've got some optional effects: engine vibration, road vibration, some more optional effects, RPMs, road impacts, and I set them accordingly. And then I've got mist gear, which is, and I don't think that's actually transferring through to anything at the moment. No, that's turned off. That's for when I had one of the exciters mounted on my shifter, my GX100, but I didn't like it. And then we got this one down here, and I'm thinking, okay, that does a little bit on the rears. That just adds a bit to the rears. Okay, so I do have that there as well. So I must have figured that it works a little bit better with that. So we got gear shift, wheel lock, wheel slip, engine vibration, road vibration, RPM, road impacts, and a little bit of traction loss, although I would honestly say that this is highly optional. And that's going to give you, it's just going to make everything feel connected. The way that I've got it set up with 4 corners, everything just feels connected. And then obviously everything that you would feel through the steering column, the wheelbase does. And the wheelbase is actually the best out of all of these things at providing, you know, feedback and vibrations. But the bass shakers do a damn good job at sort of keeping up. So let's go back in and we'll talk more while we're doing a lap, now that I've covered that Simhub stuff. Oh, there is something else I wanted to quickly cover in Simhub. So okay, so I've got it set up where I like to have something that's halfway between, like, I want it semi-immersive, but I want all the information to come through without just being drowned out. And what that means is, you know, you want to feel things like road vibrations and engine rumble to get the immersion, but you must make sure that things like wheel lock and wheel slip are easily identifiable and separate to those. And so there's a few ways you can do that. One, first of all, running these effects at higher power than those other effects is pretty much the best way to achieve it. You can see that all these road vibrations and engine vibrations are a lot quieter than wheel slip and wheel lock. But there's another way to do it, and a lot of it comes down to this RPMs effect. This is really a good effect, and it comes down to where you set this curve. Because what you're going to find is a lot of your wheel slip and stuff, like your actual wheel spinning when you're actually like throttling it, is going to happen after 4,000 RPM in these race cars and stuff. But when you're idling and just sitting in the pitch, you want that engine, you want to feel that engine. So you can see that that's, at the moment, I'm getting this engine rumble that's coming through. That's what that represents. That line there, it should be down there if it was doing nothing. But yes, there we go. And in the curve, I've got it sort of set like this. And I feel like that's the best way to have it. And when you've got it like that, you won't it won't ruin all the other effects. You know what I mean? Like, another thing that's really important is with the wheel slip, take these throttle and brake things off. Because in AC, wheel slip is done really well in the sense that as long as the car's sliding, you're feeling it. And you don't need to be on the throttle to feel it. And you shouldn't need to be. But you'll be able to tell the difference when you are, you know. And if that's all set up right, it's just amazing how well it all connects. So let's get out on the... I might just turn this down a bit. Go this way for a bit, we'll get out on the road and we'll just take it easy for a bit. Talk about the experience that I've had with the Alpha and the other parts that I've got. So I'll start with the shifter actually. I've got the GX100 shifter, and I bought it because it's cheap. You know, that's the main reason I bought it. You know, but it's good too. I looked into it. I did have the Logitech shifter first, and then I had the Odor shifter, which is kind of like the generic eBay shifter, but it's really well refined. It is nicer, you know, and as far as like basic shifters go, with just like the door latch mechanism, you know, it felt good, you know, like, but it was a door latch mechanism. It's just like you're pop, you're in, pop, you're out. There was no gradual tactile progression into gear that you feel in a real car, whereas the GX100 does do that. Oops, I'm going through. It's in sequential mode at the moment, yet it's also in... I haven't got it locked to bounce back, so I can kind of go up and down gears with it right now. I'll just lock it in. Yeah, I can use it as a sequential. I might do that for a while, and we'll show you how well it works as that. So, yeah, it works really good as a sequential, works really good as a H pattern. If you want to use it as a H pattern, you should probably go into the software and untick sequential and hit apply. So basically disable sequential mode whenever you're using it as a H pattern, and then enable sequential mode whenever you're using it as a sequential. I've only found a couple of games where it's okay to just leave it on and it won't interfere, and I think AC is one of them. But most games, you're just going to confuse the game, man, so it can't, like, it'll think that you want to go down a gear and into third at the same time, or it'll think that you want to go up a gear and into fourth at the same time, you know, so you don't want that. But anyway, yeah, it's great little bloody shifting point. So I'm really happy with the GX100. I won't stay there for too long. It feels great as it goes into gear. It's kind of like a mini Sim Vertex in the way that it's got like a linkage built up to a plunging bolt mechanism, and it supposedly feels very similar to the Simagic shifter, which costs a lot more, like heaps more. So move on now onto the pedals. So I've got the Simpson pedals, and I've told you a little bit about them already, about having to get them grounded and stuff like that. That was probably getting them just to be like reliable. Was probably one of the biggest like regret moments I had in the whole sim rig experience. You know, like I wasn't really focused on anything else while I was trying to get those pedals to work right. They feel great, and they work great when they're working. And once you get them working, you'll be happy with them. You know, but like you've got to go through, you know, that headache of like grounding your rig, finding the right firmware, and half the problems you wouldn't even notice if you weren't running the Van Pros. So you might not even realise that you've got this like inconsistent like EMI issue until you know what I mean. So but anyway, outside of that, I also found them out of the box to be pretty like they were alright, and I see a lot of people running the red elastomers that they come pre-installed with. They're the softest ones. I didn't like them. I found them way too spongy. So I whacked on the yellow ones, and I liked that. But then following, you know, like Will from Boosted Media's advice to just give the stiff ones a try, I whacked on the blue ones. And by then I'd already ordered a 30 by something, like a 30mm like blue die spring that matched the blue ones. Put that in. And what I'm finding is running like two blue elastomers, the smallest one and the longest one, with the 30mm die spring, which is the same size as the medium one. So I'm basically running like one spring, two elastomers, and the preload spring as well. And it kind of gives this like 3-stage brake effect. And it's really good, you know, like, so the brake now, like, but what I had to do was take off the hydraulic arm. There's like a hydraulic arm that sits on the top that you can wind in and out up to, I think it goes up to like 8 and down to 0, and 0 is supposed to do nothing, but 0 doesn't do nothing. And that brake pedal is not the same until you take that piece of shit damper off. Like, take that damper off and tune the brakes without it, and it becomes a really good brake. And the same goes for the throttle. The throttle's like, out the box, the throttle was really light, so it was like, without meaning to, you were pressing on it, and then like you would have to consciously always hold your foot up, like, and put extra effort into holding your foot up to avoid pressing it for like more than you wanted to, you know. But then when you wanted to go like foot flat, it was fatiguing to hold it there because you had this like hydraulic damper. Or if you just wanted to like bang it quickly all the way, like bang, 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 like that would take time because of this like hydraulic fucking damper. And so what you do is you would like bring the spring load down to make it easy to pull the throttle, but that would only make the spring lighter at the start and exacerbate the first issue. So again, taking out that hydraulic damper, just deleting it, take out the like weak throttle spring and put in the strong throttle spring, and then add as much preload as you can get without bottoming anything out, and the throttle is awesome. At that point the throttle just becomes so good, you know. And so then you've got these two like great pedals, And the clutch, well, the clutch out the box is awesome. Although I did change the spring to the blue spring just to get it more on par with what my car feels like and what, you know, trucks that I've driven feel like. I've been a truck driver for years. I don't really like that really weak out the box clutch. I don't even feel the blue springs too heavy, you know. But the bonus is now I've got blue springs and blue elastomers across the whole pedals, and they look awesome. So my elastomers and springs all match, look good together, and everything feels great. So I'm really happy with the Simpson pedals that way. And the Van Pro motors are really good. It's just getting everything to work, you know, like once everything works, they're a really good set of pedals. Now, having said all that, I've only ever used the Logitech pedals, the CSL pedals with some mods, and these pedals. So I've got no real experience to say like what a good high-end set of pedals is like compared to these, but I can tell you that these are very consistent and very realistic compared to a real car. So I'll move on now to the wheel that I'm running with right now. So when I first got into sim racing, I did like the G29, and I liked that wheel. I liked the feel of that wheel, but I didn't like that it was a D-shaped wheel. And when I got the P1 with the Fanatec, I liked that was a bit bigger and it was a round wheel. I felt like it was actually better sized for racing with than drifting or rallying with. But it was actually a really comfortable wheel, the P1. Like it was such an underrated wheel for what it is, because it's so basic, you know. But I didn't like the grips, you know. I didn't like that cheap rubbery grip. I did miss like the leather feel and the premium feel of the Logitech wheel. Even though it was cheaper, it felt better. And then, so when I got Simagic, like when I decided I was going to upgrade from Fanatec, like my CSL DD to Simagic, because I went from Logitech to a 5Nm CSL DD, and then from that to the 8Nm boost kit. When I decided I was going to upgrade to something stronger, I was tossing up between, you know, different 15Nm bases, and ended up landing on the Simagic. You know, I didn't want to stay with Fanatec at the time, and I was a little, you know, I was a little like, you know, apprehensive about like how to set it all up. I was kind of like, well, I really want to get the GT Neo, but I do know that I love the feeling of Fanatec, and there was a way to make the GT Neo work with the CSL DD quite flawlessly with MagLink and that. I just didn't want to do that, man. I wanted that native compatibility, and they hadn't actually announced the Evo line yet. It was still 6 months away before they actually announced the Evo line. And when they did announce the Evo line, they only, the first flight time, they only showed a 12Nm base, and I sort of thought, oh, well, nah, I'm glad I got the 15 then, you know. I don't care what this base is going to do, it's not going to be as good as the 15Nm Alpha. And I didn't like the look of it, you know. I still am a little like on the whole plasticky front and back. You know, I really like the size and footprint and look of the Alpha, you know. It's almost like the perfect wheelbase in every way except for its internals, where, you know, it's just it's really good, but it's just probably not up there with the likes of Simagic 3 and stuff, you know. It runs an 18-bit encoder, which is better than a 16-bit encoder that even some new wheelbases are running. So it's not like it's outdated. It's got a 5-pole servo, and it's got a low inertia motor that at the time was lighter than everything else until Simagic brought out the Evo. So it's got all these good things going for it, the actual wheelbase. And yeah, I wanted that native connectivity with the GT Neo. So I went Simagic, I got the Alpha, and then I got this Sim DT hub here from AliExpress, and over time, eventually I found this like 310mm leather wheel, and I just like 310. No, that sounds perfect because I've already got a 320mm drift wheel and a 300mm GT Neo, and I feel like something directly in the middle of those, like exactly halfway between them in size, but round with paddle shifters and buttons would be the great in-betweener, where like there might be, you know, and there might be cars like this now, like the GT2 that actually did have a round wheel that this would really suit well to drive. And so, you know, I saw this SimDT hub, and it was like the only Bluetooth like hub as well. It was the only one that I could find that just connects directly to the PC without needing a cable plugged into it, and it had an internal battery, and that adds its own little, you know, thing, like you have to charge it. So I was kind of getting sick of the cable, and then I realised that I could power it off of the Simagic base as long as I knew how to wire everything. So I wired it all up and got a compatible quick release, and now this wheel just charges and powers straight off of the base. When I plug it in, it just automatically is charging, and you know, and it automatically connects to the PC really well. Like I've got pretty good Bluetooth on my PC. I think that probably helps. But I found this to be like it's got like no delay. That's Bluetooth, and it's got like no delay. They advertise 30 milliseconds, which to me is probably unnoticeable. It feels like it's just as quick as, say, using a controller, a PlayStation controller, via its Bluetooth connection. You know, so I was very impressed with that, and ended up making myself a really cheap, basically native Simagic wheel. Then I got the GT Neo, so I got all the wheels I need. You know, I got everything I need, and I'm still kind of in this process of like, I want to upgrade, you know, and it's stupid because I probably don't need more torque. Although I can overpower this thing, but you can see I'm just running at like 56% gain now. Although it is pretty easy for me to drive it, it's not like I'm running this base at full potential. Now, I do have a clipping meter up there next to my pedal. You can see next to the throttle there's a grey force feedback meter. Whenever that goes red, I'm clipping. And that would mean I need a stronger bass, or I need to turn down the gain to get more out of the bass I've already got. And I just don't have that problem with this bass. I never clip when I'm running it like this. If I ran it at like 65, 70, yeah, maybe. And I did used to run like this at 65, but I just found it eventually over time, like, it's too much, like, I don't need it that high. And then the Ultra sort of caught my eye, you know? And it's sort of funny because just as I started like turning this down and not using as much of its potential, I'm looking at this 28Nm monster. But the real reason I'm looking at the Ultra isn't because it can do 28Nm. It's because it can do 28Nm, that it will have what I think the best force feedback experience that Simagic are capable of sort of producing, even at 15Nm. So even if I want to set the base to 16, which is probably where I'd set it already, just that 1 Nm above what this is capable of, just for a bit more headroom. Although what I'll probably do is just run it at 28, and then, because I think with Simagic you can set your headroom to 28, then set your like max torque that you would want to feel to like 15. You know, so you can do that with Simagic, which is really cool. So you've still got that headroom, even though you're not having to drive like 28Nm like range to achieve it. And so, you know, I'll never clip, but I'm not clipping now, so that's not really a big gain. And I'll have more torque, but I've got enough torque now. And this thing does 15Nm, like that's not a small amount. It's pretty good, but I can overpower it, and I'll show you. So I'll turn it to full lock, and then at full lock here, we'll turn it past that. So it's not like it's fun to do that, or easy necessarily, but it's not like 15 Newton meters is too strong. It's not. It's strong. It's not too strong. Now I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm a little bit stronger than I used to be, but that like in the hands, you know. But honestly, I'm a small guy too. I don't think that anybody would have that problem. Now, the actual force feedback of the Alpha is was where I was a little bit disappointed when I first got it. And like, it was weird because it was actually the opposite. It was like the moment I got it, I was just like, oh wow, this is insane. Like, there's so much detail. But then I started noticing that it was like making a bit of noise, and the detail was quite robotic and digital feeling, and I was like, oh, that's what they mean by robotic, like when you're watching these reviews. And I remembered it sort of felt similar to like what the CSL DD felt like if you just turn interpolation filter all the way off. Like, it had that feeling, but just in like a small hint of it, but it was there. And it was like, no matter what you did, like, you could get rid of that, but you just lose those little finer details altogether. It was like, to make the finer details, the bass has to make these little like digital like noises and feel like, and with enough volume for your sound system and stuff, it actually feels really good. Like, when you're really paying attention to just how it feels, it's like, oh, it's those little subtle details and these little like high frequency vibrations that the CSL DD just hid from you. Like, you didn't even know what they were there. And so, like, you get the sense that you're getting all this extra detail, but what you found was some of the cars, yeah, like, some cars just have that like rubbery kind of like like, I don't know how to explain it, like a rubber mallet kind of force feedback effect that you expect from the car, that the CSL DD kind of did really well. And I was finding that I wasn't able to get the same kind of, quite the same feeling out of this. Like, it was doing 98% of it, you know, and I could tune it so that it would make those rubber melody feelings, but more violently at the same time. Like, and I guess like one thing about Simagic is they've got a very like linear force feedback, which is better because like you're not getting this kind of like peak effect where, you know, the lower like details are turned up and to try and make it feel like you've got more detail. Like, you're just getting what, like, if you're running 20%, you're getting 20%. If you're running 70%, you're getting 70%. Like, there's no like, oh, we'll give you 30% because you're going slow, but then we'll turn you down to 20 when you're going fast. Like that's sort of how feedback algorithm works in Fanatec. And when you turn it on the peak at least, which is what most people are going to run a CSL DD at. Like, you're not going to run a CSL DD at 6 Newton meters, so you're going to run the peak algorithm. And yeah, so, but anyway, it took me like ages, you know, weeks to really dial this in and be to the point where I'm like, that's how you get it, like, you know. And now it's like, I'll put somebody on here and they'll just be blown away at how real it feels. So it's very realistic force feedback. Maybe not as agile and twitchy as an Evo though, you know, but its sense of like when you're about to lose it is all there. Like, there's no doubt that it's excellent for catching slides. It sounds like it's better than the Moser R20 series, where they don't really have an effect for that. So, but that's something that Simagic are really good at, because these have always been like drifting wheels. So you'll really get a good sense of, you know, the car's weight transfer with a Simagic wheel, and they are really good at that. But apparently the Evo's even better at that. But, you know, as far as wheelbases go, the Alpha's no slouch. And it's hard to justify an upgrade when something works so well, you know. So I'm kind of caught up in this, like, do I upgrade to the Evo Ultra or do I keep my Alpha? And I think it's a matter of what you're looking for. For me, it's, you know, I want that extra, the best force feedback detail that they can kind of provide. I want the best ability to catch slides that they can provide. I want that extra detail that you can get without feeling it's too robotic. All those things matter more to me than, you know, those sort of things matter more to me than just, you know, how much torque it puts out. And yeah, maybe to a degree, like, I'm a little bit of a force feedback snob, you know, like, whereas a lot of people sort of say, oh, they all feel about the same. It's like I feel like even in the limited ones I've tried, I can feel the nuances and differences. And fair, you know, maybe I'm comparing a CSLDD 8Nm to a Simagic Alpha 15Nm isn't a very fair comparison in some ways, but I could definitely feel nuances and differences. And, you know, I think that was double the torque, you know, basically doubled the torque or nearly doubled the torque. Well, if I'll go to the Ultra, I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be nearly doubling the torque. And, you know, it's basically the fastest and most agile wheelbase you can get. And I think based on those factors, I would be, and my ability to dial these in really well, I'm willing to put in the time to tune in my wheelbase and my Simhub settings. And I think what I've learned is Simagic rewards people that are willing to do that. If you're not willing to play with your settings and get those settings right, you could have a average experience, especially on the Alpha series. So, but once you get it dialed in, it's just such a good wheelbase. And it's so, you know, I'm kind of in this position where if I can, maybe I'll keep the Alpha and when I get the Ultra and not sell it, because it's just so, even though I wouldn't be doing anything with it, it's just been so good to me that I just don't want to get rid of it. And it would be an excellent backup wheelbase if something did happen to my Evo Ultra and I had to send it in for replacement. Then I've always got this Alpha to just whack on my rig, and I can, you know, maybe I can even start a bit more of a actual channel comparing wheelbases and things like that, you know. So yeah, but you know, I don't have the CSLDD anymore and I don't have the Logitech anymore, so, you know, to be able to do that, it's like you've got to start holding onto your hardware at some point. But yeah, I don't know, I don't think that I'll probably go anywhere doing that either. So, but yeah, I think I've covered most of it. I've got like the eBay handbrake, I got a cheap ass rig, and the rig I made it very like rigid by adding extra pieces of metal to it, bolting on extra like supports until it was as rigid as you could picture a rig could be. It's hard to, that's another thing too. So it's like everything, it's like I make this rig that's really rigid, and then it's like, oh, is there any point in even going to a aluminium profile rig now? You know, because I'm not really going to gain anything in rigidity. I'm only going to gain in customization, and I've already built this. I've already gone through all the hard labor of drilling this extra hole, drilling that extra hole, like until I get a new item and I can't mount it. Do I really have a problem? You know, and yeah, like I've already checked, and this will fit. This will fit my. It will fit the Evo Ultra, this wheelbase, and mounting the emergency stop, well, I can just mount it down here next to my shifter, I think, and that would be quite fine. Yeah, so it's like, profile rig? Is there any point in getting this or that? You know, like for example, I got the load cell pedal, and I'm not going to be any faster if I got a hydraulic pedal or an active pedal. You know, because you've already got the load cell. A good load cell will do, you know, 99.9% of your lap time capability. You're not really any faster with something else, and the immersion's good enough. You know, and for me, it's about performance and immersion. And my Simhub settings reflect that. The way I've tuned this bass reflects that. The fact that I bought this bass reflects that. And I would honestly say that for 99% of people, a bass just like this, like maybe the VRS DFP 15, for example, is like the perfect bass, because it's like you're not overdoing it on things that you're not going to use, but you should get enough out of it, you know. But yeah, I would say, you know, really, you probably actually do want like that 20 Newton meter kind of extra bump stop, you know, just that little bit extra to say, hey, well, see, hold on, I can't, yeah, see, it's still strong. It's not like, it's not just a suggestion, it's a bump stop. But yeah, if that was a 1/4 stronger, it would really be a bump stop. And you'd have that extra, I don't know, body in every detail, you know? So, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll go to the Ultra. And because I got these wheels like this here, it's got the Simagic quick release already. You know, it's like, do I really want to go to another brand? I've got the GT Neo. I've got this setup. That's a custom wheel that I made, and I love this thing. You know, do I, you know, I want to get the Ultra, get a QRA, and get like a rally hub, and put that on a 320 on my 320mm wheel. And it was like, oh, I want a rally hub, but I don't want to run a cable on the one wheel that I'm going to be rotating the most. Is my drift wheel. So QRA is the answer, but I'm going to need the Evo to do that. You know, so it's things like that that are going to make the upgrade worth it, not the torque. And even though the torque, even though I'm saying that, the torque's still there. Like, I'll never clip. I'll never have a bump stop that I can overcome. I'll have the fastest wheelbase you can buy, faster than Simicube 3. It'll be just about as good as a Simicube 3 in pretty much every way. And I believe that with my ability to tune the wheelbase feedback, I'll actually get it to feel just about as good as well. So, yeah. And the thing is, man, is I paid $1,500 for this Alpha. $1,500 AUD. Less than 2 years ago. And I'm going to pay about the same for the Ultra. And I'm going to get double the torque. I'm going to get all these extra features. And then, yeah, whether if I sell the Alpha, I do. And if I don't, I don't. I'll keep it, and it'll be a great wheelbase, you know. But look, guys, bear with me. I'm going to go have a break, and then I might come back and just do some actual driving. I'll be back in like 5 minutes or something. Alright, let's get a lap or two in now. Some serious lapping. Let's do some... Oh, okay, cool. Take the same car. Why not? I got my old man coming over, so I won't be streaming for much longer. It's funny, I had the chat closed last time and had someone chat. I have the chat open this time and I haven't heard from anyone, but it's better to be prepared, I guess, isn't it? You know. Feel free to drop in, say hello. I don't even know what this setup is. Probably want a bit more fuel than that. Pretty symmetrical setup. I'll just change it over here, but that's better. such a hard call to judge, that one. Whether or not you are going too fast. Maybe not with VR, but at least with one monitor it is. That was alright. Not too bad. Still valid. I lost time there, but I didn't lose the lap. Just keep going. Somehow I still have 2 wheels on the track now. How much fuel we got left? Whoa. 0.9 litres left, I think that says. Anyway, I think we'll call it. I've got stuff to do. If you do come along and watch this, thank you. I realise it hasn't been a great viewership during the stream, but I will upload this and I don't know, hopefully helps people understand whether or not making a jump from the Alpha to the Ultra is right in their minds. I'm gonna, obviously I'll do another stream when I get the Ultra and we'll compare, you know, was it worth it?